Author's Introduction to Agamemnon, Robert Browning translation. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit librivox.org. Recording by Expatriate in Bangor, Maine. Agamemnon by Sophocles. Translated by Robert Browning, 1812 to 1889. Introduction. May I be permitted to chat a little by way of recreation at the end of a somewhat toilsome and perhaps fruitless adventure. If, because of the immense fame of the following tragedy, I wish to acquaint myself with it, and could only do so by the help of a translator, I should require him to be literal at every cost, save that of absolute violence to our language. The use of certain allowable constructions, which, happening to be out of daily favor, are all the more appropriate to archaic workmanship, is no violence. But I would be tolerant for once, in the cases so immensely famous and original, of even a clumsy attempt to furnish me with the very turn of each phrase in as Greek a fashion as English will bear, while, with respect to amplifications and embellishments, anything rather than, with the good farmer, experience that most signal of mortifications, to gape for Aeschylus and get Theognis. I should especially decline, what may appear to brighten up a passage, the employment of a new word for some old one, ponos, or megas, or telos, with its congeners, recurring 4 times in 3 lines. For though such substitution may be in itself perfectly justifiable, yet this exercise of ingenuity ought to be within the competence of the unaided English reader, if he likes to show himself ingenious. Learning Greek teaches Greek, and nothing else, certainly not common sense, if that have failed to precede the teaching. Further, if I obtained a mere strict bold version of thing by thing, or at least word pregnant with thing, I should hardly look for an impossible transmission of the reputed magniloquence and sonority of the Greek, and this with the less regret, inasmuch as there is abundant musicality elsewhere, but nowhere else than in his poem, The Ideas of the Poet. And lastly, when presented with these ideas, I should expect the result to prove very hard reading indeed, if it were meant to resemble Aeschylus. Zumbalein ou padias, not easy to understand, in the opinion of his stoutest advocate among the ancients, while, I suppose, even modern scholarship sympathizes with that early declaration of the redoubtable Salmasius, when, looking about for an example of the truly obscure, for the benefit of those who found obscurity in the sacred books, he protested that this particular play leaves them all behind in this respect, with their Hebraisms, Syriasms, Hellenisms, and the whole of such bag and baggage. Note, quote, Quis Aeschylum possit affirmare Graeci, nunc scienti magis pater, explicabilem quam evangelia aut epistolas apostolicas. Unus eius Agamemnon obscuritate superat quantum est librorum sacrorum cum suis Hebraismis et Syriasmis et tota Hellenistikae superlectili vel faragine. Salmasius de Hellenistica Epistol Dedicatori. End note. For, over and above the purposed ambiguity of the chorus, the text is sadly corrupt, probably interpolated, and certainly mutilated. And no unlearned person enjoys the scholar's privilege of trying his fancy upon each obstacle whenever he comes to a stoppage, and effectually clearing the way by suppressing what seems to lie in it. All I can say for the present performance is, that I have done as I would be done by, if need were. Should anybody without need honor my translation by a comparison with the original, I beg him to observe that following no editor exclusively, I keep to the earlier readings so long as sense can be made out of them, but disregard, I hope, little of importance in recent criticism, so far as I have fallen in with it. Fortunately, the poorest translation, provided only it be faithful, though it reproduce all the artistic confusion of tenses, moods, and persons with which the original teems, will not only suffice to display what an eloquent friend maintains to be the all in all of poetry, the action of the piece, but may help to illustrate his assurance that the Greeks are the highest models of expression, the unapproached masters of the grand style. Their expression is so excellent because it is so admirably kept in its right degree of prominence, because it is so simple and so well subordinated, because it draws its force directly from the pregnancy of the matter which it conveys. Not a word wasted, not a sentiment capriciously thrown in, stroke on stroke. Note: Poems by Matthew Arnold, preface. End note. So may all happen. Just a word more on the subject of my spelling. In a transcript from the Greek and there exclusively, Greek names and places precisely as does the Greek author. I began this practice with great innocency of intention some 36 years ago. Leigh Hunt, I remember, was accustomed to speak of his gratitude, when ignorant of Greek, to those writers like Goldsmith who had obliged him by using English characters, so that he might relish, for instance, the smooth quality of such a phrase as hapalunetai galene. He said also that Shelley was indignant at Firenze having displaced the Dante-esque Fiorenza, and would contemptuously English the intruder Firenze. I supposed I was doing a simple thing enough, but there has been lately much astonishment at os and us, I and oi, representing the same letters in Greek. Of a sudden, however, whether in translation or out of it, everybody seems committing the offence, although the adoption of u for u still presents such difficulty that it is a wonder how we have hitherto escaped Euripides. But there existed a sturdy Briton who, Ben Jonson informs us, wrote The Life of the Emperor Anthony Pye, whom we now acquiesce in as Antoninus Pius, for with time and patience the mulberry leaf becomes satin. Yet there is on all sides much profession of respect for what Keats called vowelled Greek, consonanted one would expect, and in a criticism upon a late admirable translation of something of my own, it was deplored that in a certain verse corresponding in measure to the 14th of the 6th Pythian Ode, neither Professor Jebb in his Greek nor Mr. Browning in his English could emulate that matchlessly musical gonon, idon, kaliston, andron. Now undoubtedly, seeing her son the fairest of men has more sense than sound to boast of. But then, would not an Italian roll us out rimirando il figliolo bellissimo degli uomini? Whereat Pindar, no less than Professor Jebb and Mr. Browning, triakiras oichetai tuchon. It is recorded in the annals of art that there was once upon a time practising so far north as Stockholm a painter and picture cleaner, sire of a less unhappy son, old Muitens, and the annalist, Baron de Tesse, has not concealed his profound dissatisfaction at old Muiten's conceit to have himself had something to do with the work of whatever master of eminence might pass through his hands. Whence it was, the Baron goes on to deplore, that much detriment was done to that excellent piece, The Recognition of Achilles by Rubens, through the perversity of old Muitens, who must needs take on him to beautify every nymph of the 20 by the bestowment of a widened eye and an enlarged mouth. I, at least, have left eyes and mouth everywhere as I've found them. And this conservatism is all that claims praise for what is, after all, akelustas, amistas, aoika. No, neither uncommanded nor unrewarded, since it was commanded of me by my venerated friend Thomas Carlyle, and rewarded will it indeed become, if I am permitted to dignify it by the prefatory insertion of his dear and noble name. R.B., London, October 1st, 1877. End of introduction. Recording by Expatriate in Bangor, Maine. Agamemnon, Part 1, by Aeschylus. Translated by Robert Browning. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Expatriate in Bangor, Maine. Agamemnon, Part 1. Persons of the drama. Warder, Chorus of Old Men, Clytemnestra, Talthubios, the Herald, Agamemnon, Cassandra, and Aegisthus. Warder. The gods I ask deliverance from these labours. watch of a year's length whereby, slumbering through it, on the Atrides' roofs on elbow, dog-like, I know of nightly star-groups the assemblage, and those that bring to men, winter and summer, bright dynasts as they pride them in the ether, stars when they wither, and the uprisings of them. And now on ward I wait the torch's token. The glow of fire shall bring from Troy a message and word of capture. So prevails, audacious, the man's way planning hoping heart of woman. But when I, driven from night rest, dew-drenched, hold to this couch of mine, not looked upon by visions, since fear instead of sleep still stands beside me, so as that fast I fix in sleep no eyelids, and when to sing or chirp a tune I fancy, for slumber such song remedy infusing, I wail then, for this house's fortune groaning, not as of old, after the best ways governed. Now, lucky be deliverance from these labours at good news, the appearing dusky fire. O hail, thou lamp of night, a day-long lightness revealing, and of dances the ordainment. Hallo, hallo! To Agamemnon's wife I show, by shouting, that from bed starting up at once, in the household joyous acclaim, good omen to this torch blaze, she send aloft, if haply Ilion's city be taken, as the beacon boasts announcing. Ay, and for me, myself will dance a prelude, for, that my master's dice drop right, I'll reckon, since thrice 6 has it shown to me this signal. Well, may it hap that as he comes, the loved hand of the household's lord I may sustain with this hand. As for the rest, I'm mute. On tongue a big ox has trodden. Yet this house, if voice it take should, most plain would speak. So, willing, I myself speak to those who know. To who know not, I'm blankness. Chorus. The 10th year this, since Priamos' great match, King Menelaus, Agamemnon king, the strenuous yoke-pair of the Atrides' honour, two-throned, two-sceptred, whereof Zeus was donor, did from this land the aid, the armament dispatch, the 1,000-sailored force of Argives clamouring, Ares from out the indignant breast, as fling passion forth vultures, which, because of grief away, as are their young ones with the thief, lofty above their brood nests wheel in ring, row round and round with oar of either wing, lament the bedded chicks, lost labour that was love, which hearing one above, whether Apollon, Pan, or Zeus, that wail, sharp piercing bird shriek of the guests who fare housemates with gods in air, such an one sends, against who these assail, what late sent shall not fail of punishing. Erinus. Here as there, the guardian of the guest, Zeus, the excelling one, sends against Alexandros, either son of Atreus. For that wife, the many-husbanded, appointing many a tug that tries the limb, while the knee plays the prop in dust, while shred to morsels lies the spear-shaft. In those grim marriage prolusions, when their fury wed Danaoi and Troas both alike. All's said. Things are where things are, and as fate has willed, so shall they be fulfilled. Not gently grieving, not just doling out the drops of expiation, no, nor tears distilled, shall he we know of bring the hard about to soft, that intense ire at those mock rites unsanctified by fire. But we pay naught here. Through our flesh, age weighed, left out from who gave aid in that day, we remain, staying on staves a strength, the equal of a child's at length. For when young marrow in the breast doth reign, that's the old man's match, Ares out of place in either. But in oldest age's case, foliage a-fading, why he wends his way on 3 feet, and, no stronger than a child, wanders about gone wild, a dream in day. But thou, Tyndareus' daughter, Clytemnestra queen, what need? What new? What having heard or seen? By what announcements tidings everywhere settest thou round about the sacrifice aflare? For of all gods the city swaying, those supernal, those infernal, those of the fields, those of the marts obeying, the altars blaze with gifts, and here and there, heaven high, the torch uplifts flame, medicated with persuasions mild, with foul admixture unbeguiled. of holy unguent from the clotted chrism, brought from the palace, safe in its abysm. Of these things speaking, what may be indeed both possible and lawful to concede. Healer do thou become of this solicitude, which now stands plainly forth of evil mood, and then, but from oblations, hope, today graciously appearing, wards away from soul the insatiate care, the sorrow at my breast devouring there. Empowered am I to sing the omens, what their force, which journeying rejoice the potentates. For still from God inflates my breast song's suasion, age, born to the business, still such war can wage. How the fierce bird against the Teucris land dispatched, with spear and executing hand, the Achaeans' two-throned empery, or Hellas' youth, two rulers with one mind. The bird's king to these kings of ships on high, the black sort and the sort that's white behind, appearing by the palace on the spear-throw side, in right sky regions visible far and wide, devouring a hare-creature great with young, balked of more racings they, as she from whom they sprung. Ah, Linus, say, ah, Linus, song of wail, but may the god prevail. The prudent army prophet, seeing too the Atreidae, to their tempers knew those feasting on the hare the armament conductors were, and thus he spoke, explaining signs in view. In time, this outset takes the town of Priamos, but all before its towers, the people's wealth that was, of flocks and herds, as sure shall booty sharing thence drain to the dregs away, by battle violence. Only have care lest grudge of any god disturb with cloud the unsullied shine of that great force, the curb of Troia, struck with damp beforehand in the camp. For envyingly is the virgin Artemis toward her father's flying hounds this house, the sacrificers of the piteous and cowering beast. Brood and all, ere the birth, she hates the eagle's feast. Ah, Linos, say, ah, Linos, song of wail, but may the good prevail. Thus ready is the beauteous one with help to those small dewdrop things fierce lions whelp, an utter loving litter of each brute that roams the mead. And therefore makes she suit, the fair one, for fulfilment to the end of things these signs portend, which partly smile indeed, but partly scowl, the phantasms of the fowl. I call Aeaeus Paeon to avert she work the Danaoi hurt, by any thwarting waftures long and fast holdings from sail of ships, and sacrifice another than the last, she for herself precipitate, something unlawful, feast for no man's lips, builder of quarrels with the house cognate, having in awe no husband, for remains a frightful backward darting in the path, wily housekeeping chronicler of wrath, that has to punish that old children's fate. Such things did Calchas, with abundant gains as well, vociferate, predictions from the birds in journeying above the abode of either king. With these symphonious sing. Ah, Linos, say, ah, Linos, song of wail, but may the good prevail. Zeus, whosoe'er he be, if that express aught dear to him on whom I call, so do I him address. I cannot liken out, by all admeasurement of powers, any but Zeus for refuge at such hours, if veritably needs I must from off my soul its vague care burthen thrust. Not, whosoever was the great of yore, bursting to bloom with bravery all round, is in our mouths, he was, but is no more. And who it was that after came to be, met the thrice-throwing wrestler, he is also gone to ground. But Zeus, if any, heart and soul, that name, shouting the triumph praise proclaim, complete in judgment shall that man be found. Zeus, who leads onward mortals to be wise, appoints that suffering masterfully teach. In sleep before the heart of each, a woe remembering travail sheds in due discretion. Ay, and melts the unwilling too, by what perchance may be a graciousness of gods, enforced no less, as they, commanders of the crew, assume the awful seat. And then the old leader of the Achaean fleet, disparaging no seer, with bated breath to suit misfortune's inrush here, what time it laboured, that Achaean host, by stay from sailing, every pulse at length emptied of vital strength. Hard over Chalcis shore bound, current crossed in Aulis station, while the winds which post from Strumon, ill delayers, famine fraught, tempters of man to sail where harbourage is naught. Spendthrifts of ships and cables, turning time to twice the length, these carded by delay to less and less away the Argeians' flowery prime. And when a remedy more grave and grand than aught before, yea, for the storm and dearth, the prophet to the foremost in command shrieked forth as cause of this educing Artemis, so that the Atreidae, striking staves on earth, could not withhold the tear. Then did the king the elder speak this clear: Heavy the fate indeed to disobey, yet heavy if my child I slay, the adornment of my household, with the tide of virgin slaughter at the altar side, a father's hands defiling. Which the way, without its evils, say? How shall I turn fleet fugitive, failing of duty to allies? Since for a wind-abating sacrifice and virgin blood 'tis right they strive, nay, madden with desire. Well may it work them, this that they require. But when he underwent necessity's yoke trace, from soul-blowing unhallowed change, unclean, abominable, thence another man, the audacious mind of him began its wildest range. For this it is gives mortals hardihood, some vice devising miserable mood of madness, and first woe of all the brood. The sacrificer of his daughter, strange! He dared become to expedite woman-avenging warfare, anchors weighed with such prelusive right. Prayings and callings, Father, naught they made of these and of the virgin age, captain's heart set on war to wage. His ministrants, vows done, the father bade, kid-like above the altar swathed in pall, take her, lift high, and have no fear at all. Head downward and the fair mouth's guard and frontage hold, press hard from utterance a curse against the house by dint of bit, violence bridling speech. And as to ground her saffron vest she shed, she smote the sacrificers all and each with arrows sweet and piteous, from the eye only sped, significant of will to use a word, just as in pictures. Since full many a time in her sire's guest hall, by the well-heaped board had she made music, lovingly with chime of her chaste voice, that unpolluted thing, honoured the third libation, paean that should bring good fortune to the sire she loved so well. What followed, those things I nor saw nor tell, but Chalcis' arts, whate'er they indicate, miss of fulfilment never. It is fate. True, justice makes in sufferers a desire to know the future woe preponderate. But here before is need? To that, farewell and welcome. 'Tis the same indeed as grief beforehand, clearly part for part, conformably to Chalcis' art, shall come the event. But be they as they may, things subsequent, what is to do, prosperity betide even as we wish it. We the next allied, sole guarding barrier of the Apian land. I am come, reverencing power in thee, O Clytemnestra. For 'tis just we bow to the ruler's wife, the male seat man bereaved. But if thou, having heard good news or none, for good news hope dost sacrifice thus wide, I would hear gladly. Art thou mute? No grudge. Clytemnestra. Good news announcer may, as is the byword, morn become truly, news from night his mother. But thou shalt learn joy past all hope of hearing. Priamos' city have the Argioi taken. Chorus. How sayest? The word, from want of faith, escaped me. Clytemnestra. Troia the Achioi hold. Do I speak plainly? Chorus. Joy overcreeps me, calling forth the teardrop. Clytemnestra. Right, for that glad thou art, thine eye convicts thee. Chorus. For what to thee of all this trusty token? Clytemnestra. What's here? How else, unless the god have cheated? Chorus. Haply thou flattering shows of dreams respectest?
Clytemnestra. No fancy would I take of soul sleep burthened. Chorus. But has there puffed thee up some unwinged omen? Clytemnestra. As a young maid's my mind thou mockest grossly. Chorus. Well, at what time was, even sacked the city? Clytemnestra. Of this same mother night, the dawn, I tell thee. Chorus. And who of messengers could reach this swiftness? Clytemnestra. Hephaestus, sending a bright blaze from Ide. Beacon did beacon send from fire the poster hitherward. Ide to the rock Hermaion of Lemnos, and a third great torch of the island Zeus' seat received in turn, the Athoan summit. And, so upsoaring as to stride sea over, the strong lamp voyager, and all for joyance, did the gold glorious splendor any sun like pass on, the pine tree to Mekistos' watch place. Who did not, tardy, caught, no wits about him, by sleep, decline his portion of the missive. And far the beacon's light, on stream Euripos, arriving, made aware Messippios' warders. And up they lit in turn, played herald onwards, kindling with flame a heap of grey old heather. And, strengthening still, the lamp, decaying no wise, springing over plain Asopus, full moon fashion effulgent, toward the crag of Mount Kithaeron, roused a new rendering up of fire the escort. And light, far escort, lacked no recognition of the guard, as burning more than burnings told you. And over Lake Gorgopis light went leaping, and at Mount Aigiplanktos safe arriving, enforced the law to never stint the fire stuff. And they send, lighting up with ungrudged vigour, of flame a huge beard, aye, the very foreland, so as to strike above, in burning onward, the lookout which commands the strait Saronic. Then did it dart until it reached the outpost, Mount Arachneos here, the city's neighbour, and then darts to this roof of the Atreidae, this light of Ide's fire not unforefathered. Such are the rules prescribed the flambeau bearers. He beats that's first and also last in running. Such is the proof and token I declare thee, my husband having sent me news from Troia. Chorus. The gods indeed! Anon will I pray, woman. But now these words to hear, and sate my wonder thoroughly, I am fain, if twice thou tell them. Clytemnestra. Troia do the Achaoi hold this same day. I think a noise, no mixture, reigns in the city. Sour wine and unguent pour thou in one vessel. Standers apart, not lovers, wouldst thou style them. And so, of captives and of conquerors, partwise the voices are to hear, of fortune diverse. For those indeed upon the bodies prostrate, of husbands, brothers, children upon parents, the old men from a throat that's free no longer, shriekingly wail the death doom of their dearest, while these, the after-battle hungry labour, which prompts night faring, marshals them to breakfast on the town's store, according to no billet of sharing, but as each drew lot of fortune. In the spear-captured Troic habitations house they already, from the frost upethrol, and dews delivered will they, luckless creatures, without a watch to keep, slumber all night through. And if they fear the gods, the city guarders, and the god structures of the conquered country, they may not, capturers, soon in turn be captive. But see no prior lust befall the army to sack things sacred, by gain cravings vanquished. For there needs homeward the returned salvation, to round the new limb back of the double racecourse, and guilty to the gods if came the army, awakened up the sorrow of those slaughtered might be, should no outbursting evils happen, but may good beat, no turn to see in the balance, for many benefits I want the gain of. Chorus. Woman, like prudent man thou kindly speakest, and I, thus having heard thy trusty tokens, the gods to rightly hail forthwith prepare me. For, grace that must be paid has crowned our labours. O Zeus the king, and friendly knight, of these brave boons bestower, thou who didst fling on Troia's every tower the o'er-roofing snare, that neither great thing might, nor any of the young ones overpass captivity's great sweep-net, one and all, of Ate held in thrall. Ay, Zeus I fear, the guest's friend great, who was the doer of this, and long since bent the bow on Alexandros with intent that neither wide o' the white nor o'er the stars the foolish dart should light. The stroke of Zeus, they have it, as men say. This at least from the source track forth we may. As he ordained, so has he done. No, said someone, the gods think fit to care nowise for mortals, such as those by whom the good and fair of things denied their touch is trampled. But he was profane. That they do care has been made plain to offspring of the overbold, outbreathing Ares greater than is just, houses that spill with more than they can hold, more than is best for man. Be man's what must keep harm off, so that in himself he finds sufficiency, the well-endowed of mind. For there's no bulwark in man's wealth to him who through a surfeit kicks into the dim and disappearing right's great altar. Yes, it urges him, the sad persuasiveness, Ate's insufferable child that schemes treason beforehand. And all cure is vain. It is not hidden, out it glares again, a light dread lamping mischief, just as gleams the badness of the bronze. Through rubbing puttings to the touch, black clotted is he, judged at once. He seeks, the boy, a flying bird to clutch, the insufferable brand setting upon the city of his land, whereof not any god hears prayer. While him who brought about such evils there, that unjust man, the god in grapple throws. Such an one Paris goes within the Atrides' house, shamed the guest board by robbery of the spouse. And leaving to her townsmen throngs aspread with shields and spear thrusts of sea armament, and bringing Ilion in a dowry's stead, destruction swiftly through the gates she went, daring the undarable. But many a groan outbroke from prophets of the house, as thus they spoke: Woe, woe, the house and rulers, woe! The marriage bed and dints a husband's love imprints. There she stands silent, meets no honour, no shame, sweetest still to see of things gone long ago. And, through desire of one across the main, a ghost will seem within the house to reign. And hateful to the husband is the grace of well-shaped statues. From, in place of eyes, those blanks, all Aphrodite dies. But dream appearing mournful fantasies. There they stand, bringing grace that's vain. For vain 'tis when brave things one seems to view. The fantasy has floated off, hands through, gone that appearance, nowise left to creep on wings the servants in the paths of sleep. Woes, then, in household and on hearth are such as these, and woes surpassing these by much. But not these only, everywhere, for those who from the land of Hellas issued in a band, sorrow the heart must bear, sits in the home of each, conspicuous there. Many a circumstance, at least, touches the very breast, for those, whom any sent away he knows. And in the live man's stead, armour and ashes reach the house of each. For Ares, gold exchanger for the dead, and balance holder in the fight of the spear, due weight from Ilion sends. What moves the tier on tier? A charred scrap to the friends. Filling with well-packed ashes every urn, for man that was the soul return. And they groan, praising much the while, now this man as experienced in the strife, now that, fallen nobly on a slaughtered pile, because of not his own, another's wife. But things there be, one barks when no man harks, a surreptitious grief that's grudge against the Atridae who first sought the judge. But some there, round the rampart, have in Ilion earth each one his grave, all fair formed as at birth. It hid them, what they have and hold, the hostile earth. And grave with anger goes the city's word, and pays a debt by public curse incurred. And ever with me, as about to hear a something night involved, remains my fear, since of the many slayers not unwatching are the gods. The black Erinnys at due periods, whoever gains the lot of fortune with no right, him, by life's strain and stress, back again beaten from success, they strike blind. and among the out of sight, for who has got to be avails no might. The being praised outrageously is grave, for at the eyes of such an one is launched from Zeus the thunderstone. Therefore do I decide for so much, and no more prosperity than of his envy passes unespied. Neither a city sacker would I be, nor life myself by others captive see. A swift report has gone our city through, from fire the good news messenger, if true, who knows? Or is it not a God-sent lie? Who is so childish and deprived of sense, that having at announcements of the flame thus novel, felt his own heart fired thereby, he then shall, at a change of evidence, be worsted just the same? It is conspicuous in a woman's nature, before its view to take a grace for granted. Too trustful, on her boundary usurpature is swiftly made, but swiftly too decayed. The glory perishes by woman vaunted. Clytemnestra. Soon shall we know, of these light-bearing torches and beacons and exchanges, fire with fire, if they are true indeed, or if, dream-fashion, this gladsome light came and deceived our judgment. Yon herald from the shore I see, o'ershadowed with boughs of olive. Dust, mud's thirsty brother, close neighbours on his garb, thus testify me, that neither voiceless nor yet kindling for thee mountain wood flame shall he explain by fire smoke, but either tell out more the joyance speaking, word contrary to which I ought but love it. For may good be to good that's known appendage. Chorus. Whoever prays for aught else to this city, may he himself reap fruit of his mind's error. Herald. Ah, my forefathers' soil of earth Argeian, thee in this year's 10th light am I returned to, of many broken hopes, on one hope chancing, for never prayed I, in this earth Argeian dying, to share my part in tomb the dearest. Now hail thou earth, and hail thou also sunlight, and Zeus the country's lord, and king the Puthian, from bow no longer urging at us arrows. Enough, beside Scamandros cam'st thou adverse. Now contrary, be saviour thou and healer, O King Apollon, and God's conquest granting all. I invoke too, and my tutelary Hermes, dear herald, herald's veneration, and heroes our forth senders, friendly once more the army to receive, the war spear's leavings. Ah, mansions of my monarchs, roofs beloved, and awful seats in deities sun-fronting, receive with pomp your monarch long time absent. For he comes bringing light in night time to you, in common with all these King Agamemnon. But kindly greet him, for clear shows your duty, who has dug under Troia with the mattock of Zeus the Avenger, whereby plains are outploughed, altars unrecognizable in God's shrines, and the whole land's seed thoroughly has perished. And such a yoke-strap having cast round Troia, the elder king Atreides, happy man, he comes to be honoured, worthiest of what mortals now are. Nor Paris nor the accomplice city outvaunts their deed as more than they are done by. For in a suit for rape and theft found guilty, he missed of plunder, and in one destruction, fatherland, house, and home has mowed to atoms. Debts the Priamidai have paid twice over. Chorus. Hail, herald from the army of Achaeans. Herald. I hail. To die will gainsay gods no longer. Chorus. Love of this fatherland did exercise thee? Herald. So that I weep at least with joy, my eyes full. Chorus. What, of this gracious sickness were ye gainers? Herald. How now? Instructed, I this speech shall master. Chorus. For those who loved you back, with longing stricken. Herald. This land yearned for the yearning army, sayst thou? Chorus. So as to set me off from dark mind groaning. Herald. Whence came this ill mind, hatred to the army? Chorus. Of old I used for mischief's physic silence. Herald. And how, the chiefs away, did you fear any? Chorus. So that now, late thy word, much joy were dying. Herald. For well have things been worked out. These in much time, some of them, one might say, had luck in falling, while some were faulty, for who, gods excepted, goes through the whole time of his life ungrieving? For labours would I tell of, and bad lodgments, narrow deckways, ill strewn too, what the day's woe we did not groan at getting for our portion. As for land things again, on went more hatred, since birds were ours hard by the foeman's ramparts, and, out of heaven and from the earth, the meadow dews kept a sprinkle, an abiding damage of vestures, making hair a wild beast madding. Winter too, if one told of it, bird-slaying, such as unbearable Idaean's snow brought, or heat, when waveless on its noontide couches without a wind the sea would slumber falling. Why must one mourn these? O'er and gone is labour, o'er and gone is it, even to those dead ones, so that no more again they mind uprising. Why must we tell in numbers those deprived ones, and the live man be vexed with fate's fresh outbreak? Rather I bid full farewell to misfortunes. For us, the left from out the Argeian army, the gain beats, nor does sorrow counterbalance. So that 'tis fitly boasted of, this sunlight, by us, o'er sea and land, the airy flyers, Troia at last taking, the band of Argives hang up such trophies to the gods of Hellas within their domes, new glory to grow ancient. Such things, men having heard, must praise the city and army leaders, and the grace which wrought them, of Zeus shall honoured be. Thou hast my whole word. End of Part 1. Recording by Expatriate in Bangor, Maine. Agamemnon, Part 2, by Aeschylus. Translated by Robert Browning. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Expatriate in Bangor, Maine. Part 2. Chorus. O'ercome by words, their sense I do not gainsay, for aye this breeds youth in the old, to learn well. But these things most the house and Clytemnestra concern, 'tis likely, while they make me rich too. Clytemnestra. I shouted long ago, indeed, for joyance, when came that first night messenger of fire, proclaiming Ilion's capture and dispersion. And someone girding me said, through fire-bearers persuaded, Troia to be sacked now, thinkest? Truly the woman's way, high to lift heart up. By such words I was made seem wit bewildered. Yet still I sacrificed, and, female song with, a shout one man and other through the city set up, congratulating in the gods' seats, soothing the incense-eating flame right fragrant. And now what's more indeed, why needst thou tell me? I of the king himself shall learn the whole word. And, as may best be, I my revered husband shall hasten as he comes back to receive. For what's to a wife sweeter to see than this light, her husband by the gods saved, back from warfare, so as to open gates? This tell my husband, to come at soonest to his loving city. A faithful wife at home may he find, coming. Such an one as he left, the dog o' the household, trusty to him, adverse to the ill-minded, and in all else the same. No signet impress having done harm to in that time's duration. I know nor pleasure, nor blameworthy converse with any other man more than bronze dippings. Herald. Such boast as this, of the voracious brimful, is not bad for a high-born dame to send forth. Chorus. Ay, she spoke thus to thee, that hast a knowledge from clear interpreters, a speech most seemly. But speak thou, herald, Menelaus I ask of, if he returning back in safety also will come with you, this land's beloved chieftain. Herald. There's no way I might say things false and pleasant for friends to reap the fruits of through a long time. Chorus. How then, if speaking good, things true thou chance on? Herald. For, sundered, not well hidden things become they. The man has vanished from the Achaec army, he and his ship too, I announce no falsehood. Chorus. Whether forth putting openly from Ilion, or did storm, wide woe, snatch him from the army? Herald. Thou hast, like topping bowman, touched the target, and a long sorrow hast succinctly spoken. Chorus. Whether then of him, as a live or dead man, was the report by other sailors bruited? Herald. Nobody knows so as to tell out clearly, excepting Helios, who sustains earth's nature. Chorus. How sayest thou then? Did storm the naval army attack and end by the celestials' anger? Herald. It suits not to defile a day auspicious with ill-announcing speech. Distinct each god's due. And when a messenger with gloomy visage to a city bears a fallen host's woes, God ward off. One popular wound that happens to the city, and many sacrificed from many households. Men scourged by that two-thonged whip Ares loves so, double spear-headed curse, bloody yoke couple, of woes like these doubtless whoe'er comes weighted. Him does it suit to sing the Erinyes paean, but who, of matters saved, a glad news bringer, comes to a city in good estate rejoicing. How shall I mix good things with evil, telling of storm against the Achaoi, urged by God's wrath? For they swore league, being arch foes before that, fire and the sea, in plighted troth approved they, destroying the unhappy Argeian army. At night began the bad wave outbreak evils. For, ships against each other Thracian breezes shattered, and these, butted at in a fury by storm and typhoon, with surge rain resounding, off they went, vanished, through a bad herd's whirling. And, when returned the brilliant light of Helios, we view the Aegean sea on flower with corpses of men Achaean and with naval ravage. But us indeed, and ship, unhurt in the hull too, either someone outstole us or outprayed us. Some god, no man it was the tiller touching. And Fortune's saviour willing on our ship sat, so as it neither had in harbour wave surge, nor ran aground against a shore all rocky. And then, the water Hades having fled from in the white day, not trusting to our fortune, we chewed the cud in thoughts. This novel sorrow, or the army, labouring and badly pounded. And now, of them if any one is breathing, they talk of us as having perished. Why not? And we, that they the same fate have, imagine. May it be for the best. Menelaus then, foremost and specially to come, expect thou. If, that is, any ray of the sun reports him, living and seeing too, by Zeus's contrivings, not yet disposed to quite destroy the lineage, some hope is he shall come again to household. Having heard such things, know thou truth art hearing. Chorus. Who may he have been that named thus wholly with exactitude? Was he someone whom we see not, by forecastings of the future, guiding tongue in happy mood? Her with battle for a bridegroom, on all sides contention wooed, Helena? Since, mark the suture, ship's hell, man's hell, city's hell, from the delicately pompous curtains that pavilion well, forth by favour of the gale of earth-born Zephyros did she sail. Many shield-bearers, leaders of the pack, sailed too upon their track, theirs who had directed oar, then visible no more, to Simois' leaf-luxuriant shore, for sake of strife all gore. To Ilion wrath, fulfilling her intent, this marriage care, the rightly named so, sent. In aftertime, for the table's abuse and that of the hearth partaker Zeus, bringing to punishment those who honoured with noisy throat the honour of the bride, the hymeneal note, which did the kinsfolk then to singing urge. But, learning a new hymn for that which was, the ancient city of Priamus groans probably a great and general dirge, denominating Paris the man that miserably marries. She who all the while before, a life, that was a general dirge, for citizens' unhappy slaughter bore. And thus a man, by no milk's help, within his household reared a lion's whelp, that loved the teat in life's first festal stage, gentle as yet, a true child-lover, and to men of age a thing whereat pride warms. And oft he had it in his arms, like any new-born babe, bright-faced, to hand wagging its tail at belly's strict command. But in due time upgrown, the custom of progenitors was shown. For thanks for sustenance repaying, with ravage of sheep slaughtered, it made unbidden feast. With blood the house was watered, to household woe there was no staying, great mischief many slaying. From God it was, some priest of Ate in the house by nurture thus increased. At first then to the city of Ilion went a soul, as I might say of windless calm, wealth's quiet ornament, an eye's dart bearing balm, love's spirit-biting flower. But, from the true course bending, she brought about of marriage bitter ending, ill resident, ill mate in power, passing to the Primidae by sending of hospitable Zeus, Erinus for a bride, to make brides mourn her dower. Spoken long ago was the ancient saying, still among mortals staying. Man's great prosperity at height of rise engenders offspring, nor unchilded dies, and from good fortune to such families buds forth insatiate woe. Whereas distinct from any of my own mind I am, for 'tis the unholy deed begets the many, resembling each its dam. Of households that correctly estimate, ever a beauteous child is born of fate. But ancient arrogance delights to generate arrogance, young and strong mid mortal sorrow, or now and then when comes the appointed morrow, and she bears young satiety, and, fiend with whom nor fight nor war can be, unholy daring, twin black curses within the household, children like their nurses. But justice shines in smoke-grimed habitations, and honours the well-omened life, while gold-besprinkled stations, where the hand's filth is rife, with backward-turning eyes leaving, to holy seats she hies, not worshipping the power of wealth stamped with applause by stealth, and to its end directs each thing begun. Approach then, my monarch, of Troia the sacker, of Atreus the son. How ought I address thee? How ought I revere thee? Nor yet overhitting, nor yet underbending the grace that is fitting. Many of mortals hasten to honour the seeming to be, passing by justice, and with the ill-faring to groan as he groans all are free. But no bite of the sorrow their liver has reached to. They say with the joyful, one outside on each two, as they force to a smile smileless faces. But whoever is good at distinguishing races in sheep of his flock, it is not for the eyes of a man to escape such a shepherd's surprise, as they seem from a well-wishing mind in watery friendship to fawn and be kind. Thou to me then, indeed, sending an army for Helena's sake, I will not conceal it, wast, by no help of the Muses, depicted not well of thy midriff the rudder directing, convicted of bringing a boldness they did not desire to the men with existence at stake. But now, from no outside of mind, nor unlovingly, gracious thou art to those who have ended the labour, fulfilling their part. And in time shalt thou know, by inquiry instructed, who of citizens justly, and who not to purpose, the city conducted. Agamemnon. First indeed Argos and the gods, the local, 'tis right addressing, those with me the partners, in this return and right things done, the city of Priamos, gods who from no tongue hearing the rights of the cause, for Ilion's fate man slaughterous into the bloody vase, not oscillating, put the vote pebbles, while, of the rival vessel, hope rose up to the lip edge, filled it was not. By smoke the captured city is still conspicuous. Ate's burnt offerings live, and dying with them, the ash sends forth the fulsome blasts of riches. Of these things to the gods' grace many mindful, 'tis right I render, since both nets outrageous we built them round with, and for sake of woman it did the city to dust, the Argeian monster, the horses' nestling, the shield-bearing people that made a leap at setting of the Pleiads, and vaulting o'er the tower, the raw flesh-feeding lion licked up his fill of blood tyrannic. I to the gods indeed prolong this preface, but as for thy thought, I remember hearing, I say the same, and thou co-pleader hast me. Since few of men this faculty is born with, their friends successful without grudge to honour. For moody on the heart, a poison seated, its burthen doubles to who gain the sickness. By his own griefs he is himself made heavy, and out of door prosperity seeing groans at. Knowing I'd call, For well have I experienced fellowship's mirror, phantom of a shadow, those seeming to be mighty gracious to me. While just Odysseus, he who sailed not willing, when joined on was to me the ready trace horse. This of him, whether dead or whether living, I say. For other city and gods' concernment, appointing common courts in full assemblage, we will consult. And as for what holds seemly, how it may lasting stay well must be counselled. While what has need of medicines, Paeonian, we, either burning or else cutting kindly, will make endeavour pain to turn from sickness. And now, into the domes and homes by altar going, I to the gods first raise the right hand, they who far sending back again have brought me, and victory since she followed, fixed remains she. Clytemnestra. Men, citizens, Argeians, hear, my worships. I shall not shame me consort-loving manners to tell before you, for in time there dies off the diffidence from people. Not from others learning, I of myself will tell the hard life I bore so long as this man was 'neath Ilion. First, for a woman from the male divided, to sit at home alone is monstrous evil, hearing the many rumours back revenging. And for now this to come, now that bring after woe, and still worse woe, bawling in the household. And truly, if so many wounds had chanced on my husband here, as homeward used to dribble report, he's pierced more than a net to speak of. While were he dying, as the words abounded, a triple-bodied Geryon the second, plenty above, for loads below I count not, of earth a 3-share cloak he'd boast of taking, once only dying in each several figure. Because of such like rumours back revenging, many the halters from my neck, above head, others then I loosed from neck by main force. From this cause sure the boy stands not beside me, possessor of our troth-plights, thine and mine too, as ought Orestes, be not thou astonished. For him brings up our well-disposed guest captive, Strophios the Phocian, ills that told on both sides to me predicting. Both of thee 'neath Ilion the danger, and if anarchy's mob uproar thy counsel should o'erthrow, since it is born with mortals, whoe'er has fallen the more to kick him. Such an excuse, I think, no cunning carries. As for myself, why, of my wails the rushing fountains are dried up, not in them a drop more. And in my late to bed eyes' damage have I bewailing what concerned thee, those torch-holdings for ever unattended to. In dreams, why beneath the light wing-beats of the gnat I woke up as he went buzzing, sorrows that concerned thee seeing, that filled more than their fellow sleep-time. Now all this having suffered, from soul grief-free I would style this man here the dog of the stables, the saviour forestay of the ship, the high roof's ground-prop, son sole begotten to his father, ay, land appearing to the sailors past hope, loveliest day to see after a tempest, to the wayfaring one athirst a wellspring, the joy, in short, of 'scaping all that's fatal. I judge him worth addresses such as these are, envy stand off, for many those old evils we underwent. And now to me, dear headship, dismount thou from this car, not earthward setting the foot of thine, O king, that's Ilion's spoiler. Slave maids, why tarry? Whose the task allotted, the soil of the road to strew with carpet spreadings? Immediately be purple strewn the pathway, so that to home unhoped may lead him, justice. As for the rest, care shall, by no sleep conquered, dispose things, justly gods to aid appointed. Agamemnon. Offspring of Leda, of my household warder, suitably to my absence hast thou spoken, for long the speech thou didst outstretch. But aptly to praise, from others ought to go this favour. And for the rest, not me in woman's fashion mollify, nor, as mode of barbarous man is, to me gape forth a groundward falling clamour, nor, strewing it with garments, make my passage envied. God sure with these behoves us honour, but for a mortal on these varied beauties to walk, to me indeed is nowise fear free. I say, as man not God, to me do homage. Apart from footmats both and varied vestures, renown is loud, and, not to lose one's senses, God's greatest gift. Behooves us him call happy, who life has brought to end in loved well-being. Of all things I might manage thus, brave man I. Clytemnestra. Come now, this say, nor feign a feeling to me. Agamemnon. With feeling, no, indeed, I do not tamper. Clytemnestra. Vow'dst thou to the gods in fear to act thus? Agamemnon. If any, I well knew resolve I outspoke. Clytemnestra. What think'st thou Priamos had done, thus victor? Agamemnon. On varied vests I do think he had passaged. Clytemnestra. Then do not, struck with awe at human censure. Agamemnon. Well, popular mob outcry much avails too. Clytemnestra. Ay, but the unenvied is not the much valued. Agamemnon. Sure, 'tis no woman's part to long for battle. Clytemnestra. Why, to the prosperous even suits a beating. Agamemnon. What? Thou this beating us in war dost prize too? Clytemnestra. Persuade thee, power for once grant me, and willing. Agamemnon. But if this seems so to thee, shoes, let some one loose under quick, foot serviceable carriage, and me on these sea products walking, may no grudge from a distance, from the gods' eye, strike at. For great shame were my strewment spoiling, riches spoiling with feet, and silver purchased textures. Of these things thus then. But this female stranger tenderly take inside. Who conquers mildly, God from afar benignantly regardeth. For willing, no one wears a yoke that's servile. And she of many valuables outpicked the flower, the army's gift, myself has followed so. Since to hear thee I am brought about thus. I go into the palace purples treading. Clytemnestra. There is the sea, and what man shall exhaust it? Feeding much purples, worth its weight in silver dye, ever fresh and fresh our garments' tincture. At home, such wealth, king, we begin, by God's help, with having and to lack the household knows not. Of many garments had I vowed a treading, in oracles, if for enjoin the household. Of this dear soul the safe return price scheming. For root existing, foliage goes up houses, shadow o'erspreading against Sirius's dog star. And thou returning to the hearth domestic, warmth, yea, in winter dost thou show returning. And when, too, Zeus works, from the green gripe acrid, wine then already cool in houses cometh, the perfect man, his home perambulating. Zeus, Zeus perfecter, these my prayers perfect thou. Thy care be, yea, of things thou mayst make perfect. Chorus. Wherefore to me this fear? Groundedly stationed here, fronting my heart, the portent watcher flits she? Wherefore should prophet play the uncalled, unpaid lay? Nor, having spat forth fear like bad dreams, sits she on the mind's throne beloved, well suasive boldness. For time since, by a throw of all the hands, the boat's stern cables touch the sands, has passed from youth to oldness, when under Ilion rush the ship-borne bands, and from my eyes I learn, being myself my witness, their return. Yet all the same, without a lyre, my soul, itself its teacher too, chants from within, Erinus' dirge, not having now the whole of hope's dear boldness, nor my inward sin. The heart that's rolled in whirls against the mind, justly presageful of a fate behind. But I pray, things false from my hope may fall into the fate that's not fulfilled at all. Especially at least of health that's great, the term's insatiable, for its weight a neighbour with a common wall between, ever will sickness lean. And destiny, her course pursuing straight, has struck man's ship against a reef unseen. Now when a portion rather than the treasure fear casts from sling, with peril in right measure, it has not sunk the universal freight, with misery freighted over full. Nor has fear whelmed the hull. Then too the gift of Zeus, two-handedly profuse, even from the furrow's yield for yearly use, has done away with famine, the disease. But blood of man to earth once falling, deadly black, in times ere these, who may by singing spells call back? Zeus had not else stopped one who rightly knew the way to bring the dead again. But did not an appointed fate constrain the fate from gods, to bear no more than due? My heart, outstripping what tongue utters, would have all out, which now in darkness mutters, moodily grieved, nor ever hopes to find how she a word in season may unwind from out the enkindling mind. Clytemnestra. Take thyself in, thou too, I say, Cassandra, since Zeus not angrily in household placed thee, partaker of hand sprinklings, with the many slaves stationed, his the owner's altar close to. Descend from out this car, nor be high-minded. And truly they do say Alcmene's child once bore being sold, slaves barley bread his living. If then, necessity of this lot o'erbalance, much is the favour of old wealthy masters. For those who never hoping made fine harvest are harsh to slaves in all things, beyond measure. Thou hast with us such usage as law warrants. Chorus. To thee it was, she paused plain speech from speaking, being inside the fatal nets obeying. Thou mayst obey, but thou mayst disobey too. Clytemnestra. Why, if she is not in the swallow's fashion, an unknown and barbaric voice possessed of, I with speech speaking in mind's scope persuade her. Chorus. Follow. The best as things now stand she speaks of. Obey thou, leaving this thy car enthronement. Clytemnestra. Well, with this thing at door, for me no leisure to waste time. As concerns the hearth mid-navelled, already stand the sheep for fireside slaying, by those who never hoped to have such favour. If thou then aught of this wilt do, delay not. But if thou, being witless, tak'st no word in, speak thou instead of voice with hand as cars do. Chorus. She seems a plain interpreter in need of, the stranger, and her way a beast new captured. Clytemnestra. Why, she is mad, sure, hears her own bad senses, who while she comes, leaving a town new captured, yet knows not how to bear the bit of the bridle, before she has outfrothed her bloody fierceness. Not I, throwing away more words, will shamed be. Chorus. But I, for I compassionate, will chafe not. Come, O unhappy one, this car vacating, yielding to this necessity, prove yoke's use. Cassandra. Ototoi, God's earth, Apollon, Apollon. Chorus. Why didst thou ototoi concerning Loxias, since he is none such as to suit a mourner? Cassandra. Ototoi, God's earth, Apollon, Apollon. Chorus. Ill-boding here again the god invokes she, nowise empowered in woes to stand by helpful. Cassandra. Apollon, Apollon, guard of the ways, my destroyer, thou hast quite the second time destroyed me. Chorus. To prophesy she seems of her own evils, remains the god gift to the slave soul present. Cassandra. Apollon, Apollon, guard of the ways, my destroyer, ha! Whither hast thou led me? To what roof now? Chorus. To the Atreides' roof. If this thou know'st not, I tell it thee, nor this wilt thou call falsehood. Cassandra. How? How? God hated then. Of many a crime it knew, self-slaying evils, halters too. Man's shambles, blood besprinkler of the ground. Chorus. She seems to be good-nosed, the stranger, dog-like, she snuffs indeed the victim she will find there. Cassandra. How? How? By the witnesses here I am certain now. These children bewailing their slaughters, flesh dressed in the fire and devoured by their sire. Chorus. Ay, we have heard of thy soothsaying glory, doubtless, but prophets none are we in scent of. Cassandra. Ah, gods, whatever does she meditate? What this new anguish great? Great in the house here she meditates ill, such as friends cannot bear, cannot cure it, and still off stands all resistance afar in the distance. Chorus. Of these I witless am, these prophesyings, but those I knew, for the whole city bruits them. Cassandra. Ah, unhappy one, this thou consummatest? Thy husband, thy bed's common guest, in the bath having brightened, how shall I declare consummation? It soon will be there, for hand after hand she outstretches, at life as she reaches. Chorus. Nor yet I've gone with thee, for, after riddles, now in blind oracles I feel resourceless. Cassandra. Papai, papai, what this I espy? Some net of Hades undoubtedly. Nay, rather, the snare is she who has share in his bed, who takes part in the murder there. But may a revolt, unceasing assault, on the race raise a shout sacrificial about a victim by stoning, for murder atoning. Chorus. What this Erinus which in the house thou callest to raise her cry? Not me thy word enlightens. To my heart has run a drop of the crocus dye, which makes for those on earth by the spear that lie a common close with life's descending sun. Swift is the curse begun. Cassandra. How? See, quick, keep the bull from the cow. In the vesture she catching him strikes him now with the black horn trick, and he falls in the watery vase. Of the craft-killing cauldron I tell thee the case. Chorus. I would not boast to be a topping critic of oracles, but to some sort of evil I liken these. From oracles what good speech to mortals beside is sent? It comes of their evils. These arts word abounding that sing the event bring the fear 'tis their office to teach. Cassandra. Ah me, of me unhappy, evil destined fortunes! For I bewail my proper woe, as mine with his all into one I throw. Why hast thou hither me unhappy brought? Unless that I should die with him, for naught, what else was sought? Chorus. Thou art some mind-mazed creature, God-possessed, and all about thyself dost wail a lay, no lay, like some brown nightingale insatiable of noise, who, well away, from her unhappy breast keeps moaning Oetus, Oetus, and his life with evils flourishing on each side rife. Cassandra. Ah me, the fate of the nightingale, the clear resounder! For a body wing-born have the gods cast round her, and sweet existence from misfortunes free. But for myself remains a sundering, with spear the two-edged thing. Chorus. Whence hast thou this on-rushing, god-involving pain, and spasms in vain? For things that terrify, with changing unintelligible cry thou strikest up in tune, yet all the while after that Orthian style. Whence hast thou limits to the oracular road that evils bode? Cassandra. Ah me, the nuptials of Paris, the deadly to friends. Ah me, of Scamandros the draught paternal. There once, to these ends, on thy banks was I brought, the unhappy. And now by Cocytus and Acheron's shore I shall soon be, it seems, these my oracles singing once more. Chorus. Why this word? Plain too much hast thou uttered. A babe might learn of such. I am struck with a bloody bite, here under, at the fate woe-wreaking of thee shrill shrieking. To me who hear, a wonder. Cassandra. Ah me, the toils of the city, the holy destroyed. Ah, pity! Of the sacrificings my father made in the ramparts' aid, much slaughter of grass-fed flocks, that afforded no cure, that the city should not, as it does now, the burthen endure. But I, with the soul on fire, soon to the earth shall cast me and expire. Chorus. To things on the former consequent, again hast thou given vent, and 'tis some evil-meaning fiend doth move thee, heavily falling from above thee, to melodize thy sorrows, else in singing, calamitous, death-bringing. And of all this the end I am without resource to apprehend. Cassandra. Well then, the oracle from veils no longer shall be outlooking like a bride new married, but bright it seems against the sun's uprisings breathing to penetrate thee, so as, wave-like, to wash against the rays a woe much greater than this. I will no longer teach by riddles, and witness, running with me, that of evils done long ago, I nosing track the footstep. For this same roof here never quits a chorus one-voiced, not well-tuned, since no well it utters, and truly having drunk to get more courage, man's blood, the Comos keeps within the household, hard to be sent outside of sister furies. They hymn their hymn, within the house close sitting, the first beginning curse, in turn spit forth at the brother's bed, to him who spurned it hostile. Have I missed aught? Or hit I like a bowman? False prophet am I, knock at doors, a babbler? Henceforward witness, swearing now, I know not, by others' word, the old sins of this household. End of Part 2, recording by Expatriate in Bangor, Maine.
Part 3 of Agamemnon by Aeschylus. Translated by Robert Browning. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Expatriate in Bangor, Maine. Part 3. Chorus. And how should oath, bond honourably binding, become thy cure? No less I wonder at thee, that thou beyond sea reared, a strange-tongued city, shouldst hit at speaking, just as if thou stoodst by. Cassandra. Prophet Apollon put me in this office. Chorus. What, even though a god with longing smitten? Cassandra. At first, indeed, shame was to me to say this. Chorus. For more relaxed grows everyone who fares well. Cassandra. But he was athlete to me, huge grace breathing. Chorus. Well, to the work of children went ye law's way? Cassandra. Having consented, Loxias I played false to. Chorus. Already when the wits inspired possessed of? Cassandra. Already townsmen all their woes I foretold. Chorus. How wast thou then unhurt by Loxias' anger? Cassandra. I no one aught persuaded when I sinned thus. Chorus. To us at least now sooth to say thou seemest. Cassandra. Hullo, hullo, ah, evils! Again straightforward foresight's fearful labour whirls me, distracting with prelusive last lays. Behold ye those there in the household seated, young ones, of dreams approaching to the figures, children as if they died by their beloveds. Hands they have filled with flesh, the meal domestic, entrails and vitals both, most piteous burthen. Plain they are holding, which their father tasted. For this, I say, plans punishment, a certain lion, ignoble, on the bed that wallows. Houseguard, ah me, to the returning master. Mine, since to bear the slavish yoke behooves me. The ship's commander, Ilion's desolator, knows not what things the tongue of the lewd she-dog speaking, outspreading, shiny-souled, in fashion of Ate hid, will reach to by ill fortune. Such things she dares, the female, the male's slayer. She is, how calling her the hateful bite-beast may I hit the mark? Some amphisbaena, sculla housing in rocks of mariners the mischief. Revelling Hades' mother, curse no truce with, breathing at friends. How piously she shouted, the all-courageous as at turn of battle. She seems to joy at the back bringing safety. Of this too, if I nought persuade, all's one. Why? What is to be will come. And soon thou, present, true prophet all too much, wilt pitying style me. Chorus. Thyestes' feast, indeed, on flesh of children, I went with, and I shuddered. Fear too holds me, listing what's true as life, nowise out-imaged. Cassandra. I say, thou Agamemnon's fate shall look on. Chorus. Speak good words, O unhappy, set mouth sleeping. Cassandra. But Paeon stands in no stead to the speech here. Chorus. Nay, if the thing be near, but never be it.
Cassandra. Thou indeed prayest, they to kill are busy. Chorus. Of what man is it ministered, this sorrow? Cassandra. There again, wide thou look'st of my foretellings. Chorus. For the fulfiller's scheme I have not gone with. Cassandra. And yet too well I know the speech Hellenic. Chorus. For Pythian oracles thy speech, and hard too. Cassandra. Papai, what fire this, and it comes upon me. Ototoi, Lukeion, Apollon, ah me, me. She, the two-footed lioness that sleeps with the wolf, in absence of the generous lion, kills me, the unhappy one, and as a poison brewing, to put my price too in the anger, she vows against her mate this weapon whetting, to pay him back the bringing me with slaughter. Why keep I then these things to make me laughed at, both wands and round my neck oracular fillets? Thee at least, ere my own fate will I ruin. Go, to perdition falling, boons exchange we. Some other Ate in my stead make wealthy. See there, himself, Apollon stripping from me the oracular garment, having looked upon me even in these adornments, laughed by friends at, as good as foes, in the balance weighed, and vainly. For called crazed strollers I had been gypsy, beggar, unhappy, starved to death, I bore it. And now the prophet me undoing, has led away to these so deadly fortunes. Instead of my sire's altar waits the hack-block she struck with first warm bloody sacrificing. Yet nowise unavenged of gods will death be. For there shall come another, our avenger, the mother-slaying scion, father's doomsman. Fugitive, wanderer, from this land in exile, back shall he come, for friends copestone these curses. For there is sworn a great oath from the gods, that him shall bring hither his fallen sire's prostration. Why make I then like an indweller moaning? Since at the first I foresaw Ilion's city suffering as it has suffered, and who took it, thus by the judgment of the gods are faring. I go, will suffer, will submit to dying. But Hades' gates, these same I call, I speak to, and pray that on an opportune blow chancing, without a struggle, blood the calm death bringing, an easy outflow, I this eye may close up. Chorus. Oh, much unhappy, but again much learned woman, long hast thou outstretched. But if truly thou knowest thine own fate, how comes that like to a god-led steer to altar bold thou treadest? Cassandra. There's no avoidance. Strangers, no. Some time more. Chorus. He last is, anyhow, by time advantaged. Cassandra. It comes, the day. I shall by flight gain little. Chorus. But know thou patient art from thy brave spirit. Cassandra. Such things hears no one of the happy fortuned. Chorus. But gloriously to die, for man is grace, sure. Cassandra. Ah, sire, for thee, and for thy noble children. Chorus. But what thing is it? What fear turns thee backwards? Cassandra. Alas, alas. Chorus. Why this alas, if 'tis no spirit's loathing? Cassandra. Slaughter blood dripping does the household smell of. Chorus. How else? This scent is of hearth sacrifices. Cassandra. Such kind of steam as from a tomb is proper. Chorus. No Syrian honour to the house thou speak'st of. Cassandra. But I will go, even in the household wailing my fate and Agamemnon's. Life suffice me. Ah, strangers, I cry not ah, as bird at bush, through terror idly. To me the dead bear witness this much. When for me, woman, there shall die a woman, and for a man ill-wived a man shall perish. This hospitality I ask as dying. Chorus. O sufferer thee, thy foretold fate I pity. Cassandra. Yet once for all to speak a speech I fain am. No dirge, mine for myself. The sun I pray to, fronting his last light, to my own avengers, that from my hateful slayers they exact too pay for the dead slave, easy managed hands' work. Chorus. Alas for mortal matters, happy fortuned! Why any shade would turn them, if unhappy, by throws the wetting sponge has spoiled the picture. And more by much in mortals this I pity. The being well to do, insatiate a desire of this, born with all mortals is. Nor any is there who well-being forces off, aroints from roofs whereat a finger points, no more come in, exclaiming. This man too, to take the city of Priamus, did the celestials give. And honoured by the god he homeward came, but now if of the former, he shall pay the blood back. And for those who cease to live, dying, for death's in turn new punishment he dooms. Who being mortal would not pray with an unmischievous demon to have been born, who would not, hearing thus. Agamemnon. Ah me, I am struck, a right-aimed stroke within me. Chorus. Silence! Who is it shouts stroke, right-aimedly a wounded one? Agamemnon. Ah me, indeed again, a second struck by. Chorus. This work seems to me completed by this ah me of the kings, but we somehow may together share in solid counsellings. Chorus 1. I in the first place my opinion tell you, to cite the townsmen by help cry to house here. Chorus 2. To me it seems we ought to fall upon them at quickest, prove the fact by sword fresh flowing. Chorus 3. And I, of such opinion the partaker, vote to do something, not to wait, the main point. Chorus 4. 'Tis plain to see, for they prelude as though of a tyranny the signs they gave the city. Chorus 5. For we waste time, while they, this waiting's glory treading to ground, allow the hand no slumber. Chorus 6. I know not, chancing on some plan to tell it, 'tis for the doer to plan of the deed also. Chorus 7. And I am such another, since I'm schemeless how to raise up again by words a dead man. Chorus 8. What, and protracting life shall we give way thus to the disgracers of our home, these rulers? Chorus 9. Why 'tis unbearable, but to die is better, for death than tyranny is the riper finish. Chorus 10. What, by the testifying ah me of him, shall we prognosticate the man as perished? Chorus 11. We must quite know ere speak these things concerning, for to conjecture and quite know are two things. Chorus 12. This same to praise I from all sides abound in, clearly to know, Atrides, what he's doing. Clytemnestra. Much having been before to purpose spoken, the opposite to say I shall not shamed be. For how should one to enemies in semblance friends, enmity proposing, sorrow's net frame enclose, a height superior to outleaping? To me indeed this struggle of old, not mindless of an old victory, came. With time, I grant you. I stand where I have struck, things once accomplished, and so have done, and this deny I shall not. As that his fate was nor to fly nor ward off, a wrap-round with no outlet, as for fishes, I fence about him, the rich woe of the garment. I strike him twice, and in a double ah me, he let his limbs go, there, and to him fallen the third blow add I, giving, of below-ground Zeus, guardian of the dead, the votive favour. Thus in the mind of him he rages, falling, and blowing forth a brisk blood spatter, strikes me with a dark drop of slaughterous dew, rejoicing no less than at the God-given dewy comfort the sown stuff in its birth throws from the calyx. Since so these things are, Argives my revered, here, ye may rejoice if ye rejoice, but I boast. If it were fit on corpse to pour libation, that would be right, right over and above too. The cup of evils in the house, he having filled with such curses, himself coming drinks of. Chorus. We wonder at thy tongue, since bold-mouthed truly is she who in such speech boasts o'er her husband. Clytemnestra. Ye test me as I were a witless woman. But I, with heart intrepid, to you knowers say, and thou, if thou wilt or praise or blame me, comes to the same, this man is Agamemnon, my husband dead, the work of the right hand here, I, of a just artificer, so things are. Chorus. What evil, O woman, food or drink, earth bred or sent from the flowing sea, Of such having fed, didst thou set on thee this sacrifice, and popular cries of a curse on thy head. Off thou hast thrown him, off hast cut the man from the city, but off from the city thyself shalt be cut, to the citizens a hate immense. Clytemnestra. Now indeed thou adjudgest exile to me, and citizens' hate, and to have popular curses. Nothing of this against the man here bringing, who no more awe-checked than as it were a beast's fate, with sheep abundant in the well-fleeced graze flocks, sacrificed his child, dearest fruit of travail to me, as song-spell against Thracian blowings. Not him did it behoove thee hence to banish, pollution's penalty. But hearing my deeds, justicer rough thou art? Now this I tell thee, to threaten thus, me, one prepared to have thee, on like conditions thy hand conquering, or me rule. But if God the opposite ordain us, thou shalt learn, late taught certes, to be modest. Chorus. Greatly intending thou art, much mindful too hast thou cried, since thy mind with its slaughter outpouring part is frantic, that over the eyes a patch of blood with blood to match is plain for a pride. Yet still, bereft of friends, thy fate is, blow with blow to expiate. Clytemnestra. And this thou hearest, of my oaths just warrant, by who fulfilled things for my daughter Justice, Ate Erinus, by whose help I slew him, not mine the fancy. Fear will tread my palace so long as on my hearth there burns a fire. Aegisthus as before well caring for me, since he to me is shield, no small, of boldness. Here does he lie, outrager of this female, dainty of all the Creseids under Ilion, and she the captive, the soothsayer also, and couchinate of this man, oracle speaker, faithful bedfellow. Ay, the sailors' benches they wore in common, nor unpunished did so. Since he is thus, while as for her, swan fashion, her latest having chanted, dying, wailing she lies, to him a sweetheart. Me she brought to my beds by nicety, the wet of dalliance. Chorus. Alas, that some fate would come upon us in quickness, neither much sickness nor bed-keeping, and bear unended sleeping, now that subdued is our keeper, the kindest of mood. Having borne for a woman's sake much strife, by a woman he withered from life. Ah me! Law-breaking Helena, who won hast many, so many souls undone 'neath Troia, and now the consummated much memorable curse hast thou made flower forth, red with the blood no rains disperse. That which was then in the house, strife all subduing, the woe of a spouse. Clytemnestra. No wise of death the fate, burdened by these things supplicate, nor on Helena turn thy wrath as the man-destroyer, as she who hath, being but one, many and many a soul undone of the men, the Danaoi, and wrought immense annoy. Clytemnestra. Daimon, who fallest upon this household and the double-raced Tantalidae, a rule minded like theirs displaced, thou rulest with me now, whose heart thou gallest, and on the body like a hateful crow, stationed all out of tune, his chant to chant does something vaunt. Now of a truth hast thou set upright thy mouth's opinion, naming the sprite, the triply gross, or the race that has dominion. For through him it is that Eros, the carnage liquor in the belly is bred. Ere ended quite is the elder throe, new ichor. Chorus. Certainly, great of might and heavy of wrath, the sprite thou tellest of in the palace, woe, woe! An evil tale of a fate by Ate's malice rendered insatiate. Oh, oh, king, king, how shall I beweep thee? From friendly soul whatever say? Thou liest where webs of the spider o'ersweep thee, in impious death, life breathing away. Oh me, me, this couch not free, by a slavish death subdued thou art, from the hand by the two-edged dart. Clytemnestra. Thou boastest this deed to be mine, but leave off styling me the Agamemnonian wife. For showing himself in sign of the spouse of the corpse thou dost see, did the ancient bitter avenging ghosts of Atreus, savage host, pay the man here as price. a full grown for the young one's sacrifice. Chorus. That no cause indeed of this killing art thou, who shall be witness bearer? How shall he bear it? How? But the sire's avenging ghost might be in the deed a sharer. He is forced on and on by the kin-born flowing of blood, black Ares, to where having gone he shall leave off, flowing done, at the frozen child's flesh food. King, how shall I beweep thee? From friendly soul whatever say? Thou liest where webs of the spider o'ersweep thee, in impious death, life breathing away. O me, this couch not free, by a slavish death subdued thou art, from the hand by the two-edged dart. Clytemnestra. No death unfit for the free do I think this man's to be, for did not himself a slavish curse to his household decree? But the scion of him myself did nurse, that much bewailed Iphigenia, he having done well by, and as well nor worse been done to. Let him not in Hades loudly bear himself proudly, being by sword destroying death immersed, for that sword's punishment himself inflicted first. Chorus. I at a loss am left, of a feasible scheme of mind bereft, where I may turn, for the house is falling. I fear the bloody crash of the rain that ruins the roof as it bursts amain. The warning drop has come to a stop. Destiny hath justice wet for other deed of hurt on other whetstones yet. Woe, earth, earth! Would thou hast taken me, ere I saw the man I see on the pallet bed of the silver-sided bath vase dead. Who is it shall bury him, who sing his dirge? Can it be true that thou wilt dare this same to do, having slain thy husband, thine own, to make his funeral moan? And for the soul of him, in place of his mighty deeds, a graceless grace to wickedly institute? By whom shall the tale of praise o'er the tomb at the godlike man be sent? From the truth of his mind as he toils intent. Clytemnestra. It belongs not to thee to declare this object of care. By us did he fall down there. Did he die down there, and down no less we will bury him there, and not beneath the wails of the household over his death. But Iphigenia, with kindliness, his daughter, as the case requires, facing him full at the rapid flowing passage of groans, shall both hands throwing around him kiss that kindest of sires. Chorus. This blame comes in the place of blame. Hard battle it is to judge each claim. He is borne away who bears away, and the killer has all to pay. And this remains while Zeus is remaining. The doer shall suffer in time, for such his ordaining. Who may cast out of the house its cursed brood? The race is to Ate glued. Clytemnestra. Thou hast gone into this oracle with a true result. For me, then, I will, to the daimon of the Plesthenidae, making an oath, with all these things comply, hard as they are to bear. For the rest, going from out this house a guest, may he wear some other family to naught with the deaths of kin by kin. And keeping a little part of my goods, wholly am I contented in, having expelled from the royal house these frenzied moods, the mutually murderous. Aegisthus. O light, propitious of day justice bringing, I may say truly now that men's avengers, the gods from high of earth behold the sorrows, seeing as I have in the spun robes of the Erinyes this man here lying, sight to me how pleasant, his father's hands contrivances repaying. For Atreus, this land's lord, of this man father, Thyestes my own father, to speak clearly, his brother too being in the rule contested, drove forth to exile from both town and household, and coming back to the hearth turned, a suppliant, wretched Thyestes found the fate assured him, not to die, bloodying his paternal threshold just there, but hostwise this man's impious father, Atreus, soul keenly more than kindly, seeming to joyous hold a flesh day, to my father served up a meal, the flesh of his own children. The feet indeed in the hands' top divisions he hid, high up and isolated sitting, but their unshowing parts in ignorance taking, he forthwith eats food, as thou seest, perdition to the race. And then, ware of the deed ill-omened, he shrieked, falls back, vomiting from the carnage, and fate on the Polypidae past bearing, he prays down, putting in his curse together the kicking down of the feast, that so might perish the race of Pleisthenes entire. And thence is that it is given thee to see this man prostrate. And I was rightly of this slaughter stitch man. Since me, being third from 10, with my poor father he drives out, being then a babe in swath bands. But grown up back again has justice brought me, and of this man I got hold, being without doors, fitting together the whole scheme of ill will. So sweet in fine, even to die were to me, seeing as I have this man in the toils of justice. Chorus. Aegisthus, arrogance in ills I love not. Dost thou say, willing, thou didst kill the man here, and alone plot this lamentable slaughter? I say, thy head in justice will escape not the people's throwing, know that, stones and curses. Aegisthus. Thou such things soundest, seated at the lower oarage to those who rule at the ship's mid-bench. Thou shalt know, being old, how heavy is teaching to one of the like age, bidden be modest. But chains and old age and the pangs of fasting stand out before all else in teaching. Prophets at soul's cure. Dost not, seeing aught, see this too? Against goads kick not, lest tripped up thou suffer? Chorus. Woman thou, of him coming new from battle, house guard, thy husband's bed the while disgracing, for the army leader didst thou plan this fate too? Aegisthus. These words too are of groans the prime begetters. Truly a tongue opposed to Orpheus hast thou, for he led all things by his voice's grace charm, but thou upstirring them by these wild yelpings wilt lead them. Forced thou wilt appear the tamer. Chorus. So, thou shalt be my king then of the Argeians, who, not when for this man his fate thou plannest, darest to do this deed, thyself the slayer? Aegisthus. For to deceive him was the wife's part, certes. I was looked after, foe, I old begotten. But out of this man's wealth will I endeavour to rule the citizens, and the no-man-minder, him will I heavily yoke, by no means trace horse, a corned-up colt. But that bad friend in darkness, famine its housemate, shall behold him gentle. Chorus. Why then this man here from a coward spirit didst not thou slay thyself, but helped a woman, the country's pest and that of gods in the country, killed him? Orestes, where may he see light now, that coming hither back with gracious fortune, of both these he may be the all-conquering slayer? Aegisthus. But since this to do thou thinkest, and not talk, thou soon shalt know. Up then, comrades dear, the proper thing to do, not distant this. Chorus. Up then, hilt in hold, his sword let every one aright dispose. Aegisthus. Ay, but I myself too, hilt in hold, do not refuse to die. Chorus. Thou wilt die, thou sayest, to who accept it, we the chance demand. Clytemnestra. No wise, O belovedest of men, may we do other ills. To have reaped away these even is a harvest much to me. Go both thou and these the old men to the homes appointed each, ere ye suffer. It behooved one do these things just as we did. And if of these troubles there should be enough, we may assent, by the diamond's heavy heel, unfortunately stricken ones. So a woman's counsel hath it, if one judge it learning worth. Aegisthus. But to think that these at me the idle tongue should thus o'erbloom, and throw out such words, the daimon's power experimenting on, and of modest knowledge missing, me the ruler. Chorus. Ne'er may this befall Argeians, wicked man to fawn before. Aegisthus. Anyhow, in after days will I, yes I, be at thee yet. Chorus. Not if hither should the daimon make Orestes straightway come. Aegisthus. Oh, I know myself that fugitives on hopes are pasture fed. Chorus. Do thy deed, get fat, defiling justice, since the power is thine. Aegisthus. Know that thou shalt give me satisfaction for this folly's sake. Chorus. Boast on, bearing thee audacious like a cock his females by. Clytemnestra. Have not thou respect for these same idle yelpings? I and thou will arrange it. ruling o'er this household excellently well. End of Part 3. Recording by Expatriate in Bangor, Maine. End of Agamemnon by Aeschylus. Translated by Robert Browning. 1812 to 1889.